Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive.
Good to be talking about this today.
So, have you ever found yourself pondering how some producers, farmers and ranchers, are not just sort of getting by, but genuinely thriving, even in really challenging landscapes?
Yeah, tough conditions where you wouldn't expect it, maybe.
Exactly. And, crucially, doing it while also, doing right by the planet.
That's the interesting bit.
Well, today we're embarking on what I think is a really fascinating deep dive. We're looking into a revolutionary approach that's fundamentally changing the whole game for beef production.
Indeed. We're going to properly unpack the Solera framework.
Solera.
Yeah. It's a philosophy, really, built specifically for what they term nature-positive producers.
Nature-positive producers. Okay.
And its core mission, it's all about optimizing profitability, making a good living, but, and this is key, doing it in a truly harmonious relationship with nature.
So profit and planet together.
That's the vision. It seeks to blend ecological health with, solid economic viability.
That's a really compelling vision, isn't it? So the central question for our deep dive today has got to be, how? How exactly is this ambitious goal achieved?
Well, that's what we'll get into.
Our sources, they suggest it really hinges critically on using some quite specific, some extraordinary cattle breeds.
That's right. Particularly the African Sangha breeds.
Like Mashona and Tuli.
Exactly those. They're central to it.
So this isn't just, standard farming practice we're talking about. It sounds more like fostering this incredibly effective symbiotic relationship.
That's a good way to put it. Symbiotic.
Where what's inherently good for the environment, for nature, is also good for the beef itself. And ultimately, that means it's better, healthier, and more sustainable for you, the person actually eating it.
Absolutely. And it's really important to understand this isn't just one person's idea in isolation.
It's bigger than that.
Oh, yes. It's a remarkable collaborative effort. It's being passionately spearheaded by the Solera founder, Jack Milbank.
Jack Milbank.
Okay. And he's working really closely with this growing group, a cohort of cooperator breeders.
So others are buying into this.
Definitely. They're fully embracing this nature-positive production philosophy. They're all pushing this Solera framework forward together, and crucially, they're showing tangible commercial results at scale.
Commercial results at scale. That's important. Okay, let's start by really getting our heads around this Solera framework then, and explore why these Sangha breeds are such a big deal within it.
Sounds good.
So this nature-positive producer philosophy, what really defines it, it definitely sounds like a shift from, the old ways.
It absolutely represents a significant new paradigm in agriculture, a real shift.
How so?
At its heart, nature-positive production, it's a deep commitment. It's about optimizing your financial viability as a producer, sure, but doing it while fostering a genuinely harmonious relationship with the natural environment around you.
So not just not harming it, but actively helping it.
Exactly. It moves way beyond just minimizing negative impacts like pollution or soil degradation. Instead, the aim is to actively contribute to and enhance ecological health.
Right.
Think of it less like sustainable farming, which is often just about maintaining the status quo, and more like regenerative agriculture.
Regenerative, I like that term.
It's about actively building up the health of the land, improving biodiversity, sequestering carbon, designing systems where the cattle, the land, the water cycles, and the business, they all flourish together. It's holistic.
That's certainly a noble and vital goal. But let's be realistic for a moment about the pressures producers face day to day.
Sure.
We know they're dealing with rising input costs, feed, fuel, vet bills. Then you've got environmental regulations getting tighter, market demands constantly shifting. It's a tough world out there for ranchers.
It absolutely is, no question.
So how does the Solera framework actually help with these very real traditional challenges? Does it not just add another layer of complexity, another thing to worry about?
That's a fair question, and you've hit on the core of why Solera is gaining traction. The challenges are formidable, but Solera offers a very practical, almost intuitive pathway.
Okay.
It's fundamentally built on leveraging the natural strength of animals that are already perfectly adapted to thrive in those specific environments.
So working with the environment, not against it.
Precisely. Instead of constantly fighting nature with expensive external inputs, tons of synthetic fertilizers for pastures, chemical pesticides, huge amounts of supplemental feed, especially in dry times.
Things that cost a lot of money.
Exactly. Instead of all that, Solera producers work with nature. They select genetics, like the Sangha breeds, that want to thrive in the conditions they have, animals that are naturally efficient and resilient.
So it minimizes the need for those costly interventions.
Drastically. This approach basically turns potential environmental pressures, like heat or low-quality grazing, into competitive advantages. Producers can significantly reduce their overheads while improving ecological outcomes. And this, right here, is precisely where the Sangha breeds step into the spotlight.
This is where it gets particularly fascinating for me. Let's dive into these Sangha breeds then. The sources describe them as nature's blueprint for resilience, which sounds pretty impressive. And they mention an ancient lineage.
Nature's blueprint that really captures their essence perfectly. The Sangha breeds, they possess an incredibly deep, rich history. We're not talking a few hundred years here.
No.
Scientific DNA tests have definitively confirmed their existence for over 2,000 years.
2,000 years.
Yeah. It makes them an undisputed cornerstone of African cattle genetics. For millennia, these animals have been adapting, surviving, and not just enduring, mind you, but truly thriving across incredibly diverse and often very harsh African landscapes.
So they've seen it all, basically.
You could say that. They've faced extreme heat, prolonged droughts, a whole host of diseases and parasites, periods of really sparse, low-quality forage, constantly being pressured by nature to adapt or, well, perish.
2,000 years of relentless natural selection, that's an almost unimaginable timescale in breeding terms. It must mean these breeds have evolved under intense, continuous pressure.
That's exactly it. Immense pressure.
So how has this relentless process, this natural filtering, specifically shape the unique advantages we see in them today? Advantages that sound, frankly, tailor-made for what Solera is trying to achieve.
You've understood it perfectly. Over those 2 millennia, these cattle faced unrelenting, unforgiving natural selection. Just picture it. Generation after generation living in challenging environments. Only the absolute hardiest survive.
Survival of the fittest, literally.
Literally. Only the most disease-resistant, the most heat-tolerant, and crucially, the most efficient animals, those that could convert sparse, tough forage into energy, maintain condition, and successfully reproduce, only they passed on their genes. This relentless pressure naturally selected for and really amplified these incredible traits. It embedded them deep into their DNA. This process built in a level of inherent resilience and efficiency that, modern breeding programs often struggle to replicate.
Especially when modern breeding often focuses on single traits, like maybe rapid growth above all else.
Precisely. Modern breeding often chases 1 or 2 traits, sometimes at the expense of overall hardiness or fertility. Sangha breeds offer this foundational natural resilience that truly sets them apart. They're balanced.
So if we connect this deep evolutionary history back to the Solera framework's goals, why are these ancient, naturally tough breeds so perfectly suited for these nature-positive systems? What makes them such a fundamental piece of the puzzle?
Well, their evolutionary advantages just align perfectly with Solera's core principles. It's almost uncanny.
How so?
Because they're so inherently hardy, so resilient, so efficient, they drastically reduce a producer's dependence on those costly external inputs we talked about. Think about it. Fewer expensive chemicals needed for parasite control because they have natural resistance. Less need for vast amounts of supplemental feed, even when grazing is poor, because they're efficient converters. Minimized veterinary interventions because they possess natural disease resistance. It all adds up.
Lower bills, essentially.
Significantly lower bills. Their innate hardiness and superior adaptability mean they don't just survive, they genuinely thrive in conditions where many other breeds would struggle badly or need constant expensive support.
Right.
This translates directly to lower operational costs for the producer. And, just as importantly, it significantly reduces the environmental impact because you're using less energy, fewer synthetic products, less water perhaps, to maintain the herd.
It all ties together.
It really does.
And among these remarkable Sangha breeds, our sources really zero in on a couple of star performers, don't they? They seem absolutely central to this whole discussion.
They do. The Mashona and the Tuli.
Mashona and Tuli.
You're quite right. They are premier examples of Sangha breeds that really embody the principles we're talking about. Scientific studies, but also real-world commercial results, consistently demonstrate their exceptional suitability for the Solera framework. They are the proof in the pudding, you could say.
Okay, then, let's start our deeper dive with the Mashona, often called an unsung hero of efficiency and quality in the Solera system. What makes them stand out? Particularly their fertility. I gather that's pretty foundational for profitability in any herd.
Oh, their fertility's, well, it's nothing short of extraordinary. And yes, it's the absolute bedrock of consistent profitability for any cattle operation anywhere in the world. Get fertility wrong and nothing else matters much.
Very true.
And here's where the Mashona gets truly remarkable. They possess an exceptional, almost unbelievable tolerance to nutritional stress.
Nutritional stress, like drought or poor grazing.
Exactly. The Matopos trials, these were landmark long-term studies done at a famous research station in Zimbabwe. Running from about 1979 to 1986, they revealed something quite astounding.
What do they find?
Mashona females, the cows, they can lose a staggering 32.5% their initial body mass.
32.5%.
Yes. Over a third of their weight, basically before their sexual activity, their ability to cycle and conceive actually ceases.
That's incredible tolerance. How does that compare?
Well, consider this. The next closest breed in those same extensive multi-year trials could only tolerate a 19% loss of body mass before reproduction stopped.
19% versus 32.5.
Correct. That means the Mashona has a 70% superior tolerance to nutritional stress compared to the next best. 70%. This isn't just a minor difference, it's a biological superpower in tough environments.
A 70% superior tolerance. That figure is just astonishing.
Mm.
So spell out the economic implications of that kind of resilience, especially for producers who are facing unpredictable conditions, maybe severe droughts. This goes way beyond just survival, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You've hit the strategic nail on the head. This isn't merely about a breed surviving a drought. It's about fundamentally changing the risk profile for the entire business.
How so?
It translates directly into maintained fertility and therefore consistent calf crops, even during the most severe drought years. Years when conventional cattle breeds, your typical European or British breeds, often fail to breed altogether. They just shut down reproductively.
Which means no income for the producer that year or the next.
Exactly. For a producer, the Mashona's resilience ensures vital, uninterrupted cash flow. It prevents those incredibly costly multi-year production gaps that can cripple or even bankrupt a ranching business. It's almost like having natural climate insurance built right into your herd's genetics.
Climate insurance in their DNA. I like that.
They can continue producing when external conditions would normally bring operations to a grinding halt, and often without needing massive amounts of expensive supplemental feeding or emergency interventions that just drain cash reserves.
And I understand they also have a significant advantage when it comes to breeding early. That must speed things up considerably for herd development and genetic progress.
It really does. Mashona heifers can reach puberty remarkably early. Some studies show them cycling as young as 362 days old.
Just over a year old.
Yes, and at surprisingly low body masses, too, sometimes just 149 kilograms. This precocity, this early maturity, allows for effective mating at a mere 15 months of age. That's significantly earlier than many conventional breeds, which might not be ready until they're 2 years old or even older.
15 months. So what's the tangible economic benefit for a producer? Getting that replacement female into production so much faster must save money.
The economic benefit is tremendous, and it works on multiple levels. Firstly, as you said, it accelerates genetic progress within your herd. You're getting offspring from your best adapted lines sooner, turning generations over faster.
Compounding the genetic gains.
Exactly. Secondly, and this is very important for the bottom line, it significantly reduces the development costs per replacement female. You're bringing them into production 6, maybe even 9 months earlier than conventional breeds.
That's a lot of saved feed and time.
Think of the substantial savings in feed, labor, grazing resources, and general management costs over that extended non-productive period before she drops her first calf. And the benefits continue right through to calving itself.
How so? Easy calving.
Very much so. In phase 1 of that Matopos crossbreeding work we mentioned, calvings that needed assistance were incredibly low. Only 3.4% in purebred Mashona matings required any help at all. That indicates inherent natural calving ease.
So minimal vet intervention needed, less labor tied up during calving season, and presumably significantly fewer calf losses due to difficult births.
Correct on all counts, all of which directly contribute to higher profitability and less stress for the producer.
Okay, that's a compelling case on fertility and efficiency. But let's pivot to meat quality, because ultimately that's what reaches the consumer, and that's often where the premium market opportunities lie. What makes Mashona beef quality so special, especially from grass-fed systems?
Right, the end product. And this aspect, it really challenges our conventional understanding of what grass-fed beef can be. Historically, even back in Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, Mashona cattle were known, anecdotally at first, for a unique genetic trait.
Which was?
They possess this inherent ability to lay down marbling, the intramuscular fat that gives beef its flavor, juiciness, and tenderness.
The good stuff.
The good stuff, exactly. They lay that down before accumulating excessive, often undesirable, back fat. This is quite unusual, especially for cattle finished purely on forage without any grain.
Marbling before back fat and on grass alone? That sounds almost counterintuitive. We normally associate significant marbling with high-energy grain finishing, don't we?
We absolutely do. That's the conventional wisdom.
So has this rather remarkable trait actually been scientifically validated? Or is it just, breeder talk?
Oh, no, it's been rigorously validated. A pivotal study conducted at Texas Tech University put this very trait to the test.
What did they do?
They observed grass-fed Mashona steers. And these animals received absolutely no supplemental feed, purely forage-based diets. And the results were quite striking. They found unexpected and significant marbling.
How significant?
Younger steers showed an impressive 2.1% lean muscle total fat, which indicates early marbling deposition. And older steers, still purely grass-fed, demonstrated over 6.8% intramuscular fat.
6.8% on grass.
Yes. The researchers themselves were reportedly quite surprised to see such levels from solely grass-fed cattle. This level of marbling is usually only seen in animals that have had a significant period on a grain-finished diet. So this isn't just anecdotal, it's scientifically proven.
That is a colossal advantage for producers, surely. It means they can potentially command premium pricing for genuinely grass-fed beef that also boasts some marbling level usually only achieved through costly grain finishing.
A huge advantage.
This must open up significant doors to high-value markets for these nature-positive producers. It kind of democratizes access to those higher profit margins, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's a game changer for market access and differentiation. And their commercial performance in real-world scenarios further underscores this potential.
How so? Did they grade well?
Exceptionally well. In that same Texas Tech study, more than 90% of the Mashona steers graded prime or choice. Those are the top USDA quality grades, the ones consumers pay a premium for.
90% prime or choice on grass.
And they combine this with an impressive yield grade of 2.87. Remember, for yield grade, lower is better. It signifies a higher proportion of valuable lean meat compared to waste, fat, and bone. So high quality and high yield.
Best of both worlds.
Pretty much. And what's more, these steers consistently beat the average live market price for cattle on the day they were sold by over $10 per hundredweight.
$10 a hundredweight premium.
Yes, which translates to an additional profit of more than $100 per animal compared to the average. That's very tangible, significant commercial success, directly linked to the breed's unique attributes.
Wow. Okay, beyond the incredible meat quality and that astonishing fertility, what about handling the environment itself? Climate resilience and natural parasite resistance. How do Mashona help producers drastically cut those input costs, which, as we said, are often a huge burden?
Their climate resilience is truly exceptional, and yes, it's another major cost saver. Research conducted at the University of Zimbabwe directly compared Mashona with Brahman cattle.
Brahman being the benchmark for heat tolerance, typically.
Exactly. And the study found no significant difference between Mashona and Brahman in terms of skin surface temperature, rectal temperature, or breathing rate, all critical physiological indicators of how well an animal is coping with heat stress.
So Mashona are basically on par with Brahmans for heat tolerance.
Effectively, yes. They handle intense heat just as well, meaning their performance growth, fertility, milk production doesn't drop off drastically during hot weather, unlike many European broods.
And what are the specific physical adaptations that allow them to handle heat so effectively? It sounds like they're genuinely built for it.
They are, quite brilliantly adapted. Mashona cattle possess a large surface area relative to their body mass, which naturally helps dissipate heat more effectively.
Like having bigger radiators.
Sort of, yes. And their actual skin surface area is often further increased by having extra folds of skin, particularly in the dewlap under the neck and around the neck and scrotum. More surface area for evaporative cooling.
Clever design.
Very. And crucially, remember how we talked about marbling? Their fat deposition is primarily intramuscular, within the muscle.
Rather than subcutaneous, under the skin.
Precisely. This means they have less of that thick, insulating layer of back fat that can trap body heat. This allows them to radiate heat away much more efficiently than breeds that lay down a lot of external fat cover.
So producers essentially get that incredible Brahman-level heat tolerance,
Uh-huh.
but potentially without some of the perceived downsides, sometimes associated with pure Boston Indicus genetics, like maybe temperament variability, later maturity, or occasional challenges with carcass quality consistency.
That's often the experience, yes. You get the heat adaptation without compromising significantly on fertility, carcass traits, or generally docile temperament. It means productivity can be maintained even in sweltering conditions, which is absolutely invaluable in a warming climate or in naturally hot regions.
A huge plus. And what about parasites? Ticks, worms, the bane of many cattle operations.
Another major strength. Their innate parasite resistance is remarkable. What's truly fascinating here is that many Mashona herds are successfully raised on natural grazing with absolutely no grain supplementation and, get this, no routine chemical parasite control at all.
No chemical dewormers or tick treatments.
At all.
In many cases, no, or at least very minimal strategic treatments. This is purely due to their profound inherent natural resistance to both external parasites like ticks and internal parasites like worms.
And that resistance, it's genetic, not just acquired immunity. It's fundamentally genetic. Remember that 2,000 years of natural selection. This resistance was literally bred into them through a process of natural selection, as the source material puts it. It's an inherited trait, honed over millennia, not something that needs constant propping up with chemicals.
No regular chemical parasite control. I mean, that must slash annual input costs dramatically.
Yeah.
Think of the savings on vet bills, the cost of the chemicals themselves, the labor involved in treating animals.
It's a massive saving. It profoundly impacts the bottom line.
It must translate directly into significantly improved profit margins for the producer, surely.
It does, profoundly so. It's a cornerstone of that low-input, high-output model that's central to the Solera philosophy. Eliminating those recurring, often expensive chemical input costs isn't just a minor saving, it's a fundamental shift in the cost structure of the entire cattle operation.
Makes perfect sense. And I assume these economic and biological benefits, they don't just apply to purebred Mashona. They carry through into crossbreeding programs, too.
Beautifully. They extend very effectively into crossbreeding programs, often amplifying their positive impact through hybrid vigor.
Ah, crossbreeding. That's often where the magic happens in commercial herds. Tell us about the Mashona's crossbreeding performance. I've heard some incredibly impressive ranch-to-rail success stories where they really shine.
The ranch-to-rail results involving Mashona crosses are nothing short of compelling. They really highlight the economic power of these genetics. Consider the results from one well-documented group, 46 Weaver half Mashona steers.
Half Mashona, so crossed with another breed.
Yes, likely crossed with a British or European breed. These half Mashona steers, they went through the feedlot system and were tracked right through to the packing plant. And they made an average profit of $40.89 each.
Okay, a profit. That's good. How does that compare?
Well, here's the comparison. In the exact same test, run at the same time, same feedlot, same conditions, there were 144 other cattle that were not Mashona crosses. These other cattle averaged a loss of $67.81 each.
Wow. A profit of nearly $41 versus a loss of nearly $68.
Correct. Which means, very clearly, that the Mashona crossbreds outperformed the non-Mashona cattle by more than $100 per head.
$100 per head difference in net return. That's not just marginal. That's a monumental impact on any rancher's bottom line, especially when multiplied across a whole calf crop.
Monumental is the right word. It demonstrates profound economic leverage just by incorporating those Mashona genetics.
And what about their carcass performance in those crossbreeding scenarios? Did the quality hold up when crossed with other breeds? Did they still hit those high grades?
The quality was exceptional, yes. Nearly 85% of the carcasses from those half Mashona steers achieved a yield grade of 1 or 2.
Which means high meat yield, little waste fat.
Exactly. Their average yield grade was 1.95, very impressive. And furthermore, on the quality side, those half Mashona steers received a quality grade of choice, the second highest grade, more than 3 times as often as the other non-Mashona cattle in the program.
3 times as likely a great choice.
Yes. So it wasn't a fluke. It was consistent, high-quality, high-yielding output, even in the crossbreds. This kind of data, it really does raise important questions about how we've traditionally approached breed selection for commercial beef production, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It suggests we might have overlooked some incredibly effective genetic tools that were right under our noses, so to speak, particularly for producers aiming for efficiency and quality off grass.
I think that's a very fair assessment.
So if we try to summarize the Mashona's overall economic efficiency, looking at the big picture, what was the definitive conclusion from those extensive long-term research projects like the Matopos trials, which ran for, what, nearly 2 decades?
The conclusion from the Matopos trials, conducted over many years, many seasons, many cycles between 1974 and 1990, was definitive. They consistently showed that Mashona cattle produce more kilograms of beef per hectare than any of the other cattle breeds included in those expensive trials.
More meat per hectare. That's often considered the ultimate benchmark, the holy grail of efficiency in extensive grazing systems, isn't it? Especially where land is a limiting factor.
It absolutely is. It speaks directly to biological efficiency and sustainable land use.
So bringing it all together for the Mashona, what are the absolute key profit determinants where they truly excel, making them such a valuable asset in the Solaris system?
They possess a decisive combined advantage in the most critical determinants of profitable cattle production. Firstly, their potential for a higher stocking rate due to their moderate size and efficiency. Secondly, their unparalleled fertility and reproductive efficiency, especially under stress. And thirdly, their remarkably low input costs per cow, thanks to disease resistance, parasite tolerance, and forage efficiency.
Stocking rate, fertility, low cost.
Those three factors, when you combine them, create an incredibly powerful and resilient economic engine for the nature-positive producer. They simply allow you to get more output more consistently from your land base with significantly less expenditure year after year. That's the core advantage.
Truly compelling. Okay, let's shift our focus now to the other Sangha powerhouse that's central to the Solera vision, the Tuli cattle. What makes them so exceptional? Let's start with their meat quality. I hear it's a win for both the consumer and the producer.
The Tuli breed absolutely stands out when it comes to meat quality. It's a characteristic that benefits everyone in the supply chain right through to the final consumer. Research conducted at the very well-respected U.S. Meat Animal Research Center, or MRRC, in Clay Center, Nebraska.
A major research facility.
Indeed. Their studies found that Tuli produces exceptionally high-quality meat. In rigorous controlled trials, Tuli meat was found to have the most juicy meat of all breeds tested.
The most juicy, wow.
And perhaps even more surprisingly, it was second only to Angus for marbling.
Second only to Angus for marbling. Given Angus's global reputation specifically for marbling, that is a truly remarkable achievement for a Sangha breed primarily known for its hardiness.
It is remarkable. And that discovery, when it came out, it immediately ignited immense international interest in the Tuli breed. Suddenly, people realized this hardy African breed could compete head-to-head with the world's best on carcass quality.
It must have put them firmly on the global map for premium beef genetics.
It absolutely did. It propelled them onto the world stage, challenging long-held assumptions about where top-tier beef genetics had to come from. And it's not just about juiciness and marbling either.
Oh.
What else?
According to comprehensive test results from Texas A&M University, the Tuli also boasts the best ribeye to carcass ratio of any breed in the world they had tested.
The best ribeye to carcass ratio globally. Now explain why that's important for a producer.
It's a critical metric for carcass value. A larger, more shapely ribeye muscle relative to the overall carcass weight means you get more high-value steak cuts per animal. It directly impacts the cutout value and profitability for the processor and ultimately the producer. So superior carcass yield and value, on top of the juiciness and marbling. That's quite a package. And I assume, like the Mashona, their inherent hardiness allows them to achieve this quality truly from grass, which is a massive selling point in today's market.
Absolutely. Their natural hardiness and their efficiency on forage mean they can be properly fattened up, finished, directly on diverse pastures and rangelands. Their meat is genuinely grass-fed in the purest sense, often without needing any grain finishing to achieve that quality.
And the taste, the eating experience.
When it comes to the sensory attributes, multiple case panels and consumer studies consistently confirm that Tuli beef receives excellent ratings for its rich, beefy flavor profile, its tenderness, and that desirable marbling, all achieved predominantly from a forage-based diet.
So putting it in economic terms, superior carcass yield combined with premium meat quality attributes that consumers value. This allows producers using Tuli genetics to access those high-value markets, maybe direct-to-consumer sales, and command significant premiums.
That's exactly the formula. It's a powerful combination for driving profitability in a sustainable, nature-positive way. Higher value per animal, often achieved with low input costs.
It sounds almost too good to be true. But what about their overall productivity and efficiency? Beyond the carcass quality, how do they stack up in terms of just producing pounds of beef efficiently? I understand Dr. Bill Holloway's research at Texas A&M had some truly landmark findings here.
Indeed. If meat quality is impressive, their efficiency is where the Tuli truly shines, and it gets really interesting for producers focused on optimizing their operations. Dr. Holloway, after conducting extensive long-term crossbreeding studies at Texas A&M,
The same place that found the ribeye ratio.
yes, that same group, he concluded, quite emphatically, that the most significant results are the pounds of calf weaned per pound of cow exposed.
Okay, unpack that metric for us. Pounds of calf weaned per pound of cow exposed. Why is that the most significant measure?
Because it's the ultimate measure of overall biological and economic efficiency for a cow herd. It's not just looking at the weaning weight of the calf in isolation. It accounts for everything. The cow's fertility. Did she even get pregnant? Her ability to carry the calf to term. Her mothering ability. Did the calf survive to weaning? The calf's growth rate. Its weaning weight, and critically, it relates all that output back to the size and therefore the maintenance cost of the cow herself.
So it factors in the cost side, how much the factory, the cow, weighs and needs to eat to produce that output.
Precisely. A big cow might wean a heavy calf, but she also eats a lot more just to maintain herself year-round. This metric captures the net efficiency, how much saleable product, pounds of calf, you get for the resources you invest in maintaining your breeding herd, pounds of cow. It's the gold standard for comparing true productivity.
Right. That makes perfect sense. It's a holistic view. So using that gold standard metric, what were the actual productivity results for Tuli cross calves compared to other well-known established breeds in Dr. Holloway's studies?
The results were genuinely staggering. Prepare yourself. Tuli-sired crossbred cows weaned a remarkable 75% more pounds of calf per pound of cow exposed than Brahman-sired crossbred cows.
75% more compared to Brahman crosses.
Yes, and 53% more pounds of calf per pound of cow exposed than Angus-sired crossbred cows.
53% more than Angus crosses.
And 21% more than Senegal-sired crossbreds, another tropically adapted breed.
Wow. Those are not marginal differences. We're talking massive leaps in overall system efficiency. 21%, 53%, even 75% more output per unit of breeding female maintained.
Exactly. These results speak volumes about the Tuli's unparalleled reproductive efficiency, their overall productivity when you factor in cow size, and their profound adaptability. It demonstrates a massive return on the producer's investment in their cow herd.
Those are incredibly significant differences in productivity. So how does that translate directly into pounds, shillings, and pence, or dollars and cents for a producer? What's the tangible impact on their gross margin per cow?
Well, it directly and substantially increases the potential gross margin per cow by that same significant percentage range, roughly 21% to 75%, depending on which comparison breed you're looking at.
A potential 75% boost to gross margin per cow.
Yes, it's a massive potential boost to the bottom line, often achieved without necessarily increasing the herd size or needing more land. It's about getting dramatically more out of the resources you already have.
And did the cows themselves contribute to this efficiency? Were the Tuli-sired cows smaller, needing less feed?
That's a key part of it. The long-term Texas A&M study, which ran from 1992 right through to 2011, consistently showed that the Tuli-sired crossbred cows were moderate in size. They typically weighed less than the Brahman-sired crossbred cows in the same study.
So a smaller factory.
A smaller, more efficient factory. Even though their individual calves might have weaned slightly lighter than calves from larger framed cows in some comparisons, their superior fertility, higher calving rates, and lower maintenance requirements due to their moderate size meant they produced significantly more total pounds of calf over their lifetime relative to the resources they consumed. It clearly demonstrates the efficiency advantages of moderate cow size, especially in resource-limited environments.
This is incredibly important information. So for any producer listening, especially if you're running cattle in, say, a hostile environment, maybe arid rangelands, or anywhere with limited or variable feed resources, this Texas A&M study is hugely significant, isn't it?
Hugely significant. It truly underscores that for producers seeking optimum production, not just maximum individual animal size, but maximum system efficiency and profitability, the Tuli offers tremendous, potentially game-changing advantages.
It really does boil down to getting dramatically more output from fewer inputs, thanks to the breed's inherent traits.
Absolutely. It's about intelligently leveraging the animal's natural efficiency and its adaptability. And this inherent efficiency is intrinsically linked to their remarkable adaptability and that impressive heat tolerance we touched upon. It allows them to not just survive, but genuinely thrive across an incredibly vast range of environments.
Thriving anywhere.
Yeah.
That's a bold claim you made earlier. Let's dig into that. What does the research actually tell us about their adaptability and heat tolerance across different climates? Is it really that broad?
The research backs it up. Several studies conducted in various tropical and subtropical environments consistently demonstrate that Tuli cattle, often grouped with Senepol in these studies, are physiologically similar to Brahmin or Brahmin crossbreds in terms of their ability to cope with heat stress.
So functionally equivalent to Brahmin in handling heat.
Functionally very similar, yes. They exhibit low skin surface temperatures, maintain normal rectal temperatures, and show calm breathing rates even when ambient temperatures are very high. And it comes back to their physical adaptations, which are fascinating and contribute significantly to this resilience. What sort of adaptations?
Tuli cattle handle heat exceptionally well, partly thanks to their smooth, often short, sleek coats, which reflect sunlight well. They have moderate-sized ears, not the large, floppy ears of some breeds that can struggle with heat, and they possess a well-developed dewlap, that fold of skin under the neck, which increases surface area for cooling.
So physical traits that help them shed heat.
Exactly. These features allow them to dissipate body heat efficiently and withstand intense sunlight for long periods without showing obvious signs of heat stress, like excessive panting or seeking shade constantly. They also offer flexibility in that they can be naturally horned or naturally polled, which is a practical management advantage for many producers.
Okay, so they're physiologically well-equipped for heat, similar to a Brahmin, but you mentioned them thriving anywhere. Just how diverse are the environments where Tulis have proven successful? Give us some concrete examples.
This is where their adaptability becomes truly astonishing, highlighting their incredible genetic resilience. Tuli cattle are documented as flourishing across an incredibly diverse spectrum of environments. It's almost hard to believe one breed can handle such variety.
Go on, impress us.
Okay. You'll find them thriving in the sandy, arid, semi-desert areas of Namibia, Botswana, and parts of South Africa's Northern Cape. Very dry, sparse conditions.
Right, tough country.
Then you find them performing robustly in the hot, humid, heartwater-infected, bush-filled regions. Think Zimbabwe, the Limpopo province of South Africa, the Lowveld of Mpumalanga, high disease challenge areas.
Okay, different challenges there.
Yet they also excel in the high rainfall, often Saraveld grazing, high-altitude areas of Mpumalanga. Completely different climate, different forage types.
Wow.
They maintain excellent health and productivity down in KwaZulu-Natal, where tick-borne diseases like red water and gall sickness are traditionally rife. They even thrive up in the Drakensberg Mountains, where snow falls regularly in winter.
Snow for an African breed.
Yes, and across the extensive savanna grasslands of the Free State, the arid Karoo regions, and even in the cold, misty mountains and the dense coastal bush of the Eastern Cape, it's an incredibly broad range.
Goodness me, that is quite the environmental resume for a single cattle breed. So what's the profound economic benefit of having that kind of consistent adaptability for producers? It must offer huge operational flexibility and risk reduction.
Immense operational flexibility, yes, and perhaps more importantly, vital climate insurance for producers. That's the key takeaway.
Climate insurance, explain that.
It means producers using Tuli genetics can maintain reasonably consistent productivity and profitability across incredibly challenging and diverse climates, often without having to make major sacrifices in meat quality, fertility, or overall herd health. It buffers their business against environmental extremes.
So less boom and bust, depending on the weather.
Exactly. It mitigates the risk associated with unpredictable weather patterns, like droughts or heat waves or variable resource availability. It ensures that the herd remains productive, or at least survives in good condition when conditions turn tough. This consistency in performance, regardless of the specific environment, is a massive de-risking factor for any modern agricultural operation, especially with climate change making things less predictable.
That makes absolute sense. And just like their cousins, the Mashona, I'm guessing Tuli cattle also boast significant natural disease and parasite resistance, further helping to reduce those persistent input costs that can really eat into profits.
You would be absolutely correct in that assumption. Tuli are well documented as being remarkably disease-resistant, especially showing a high tolerance to tick-borne diseases like heartwater, redwater, and gall sickness, which are major economic drains in many cattle-producing regions across Africa and potentially elsewhere.
And this resistance, again, is genetic, honed over millennia.
Precisely. Just like the Mashona, this inherent resistance against both internal parasites worms, and external parasites, ticks, was bred into it through a process of natural selection over a period of at least 2,000 years. It's an ingrained, inherited genetic trait, not something they just acquire through exposure.
So it's robust and heritable.
Very much so. In fact, the source material notes that some established Tuli herds have not required any routine treatment for years, for either external or internal parasites, purely due to their strong genetic resistance. That's an extraordinary claim and achievement for any livestock breed anywhere in the world.
No routine parasite treatments for years. That's a powerful testament to the sheer efficacy of that long-term natural selection, isn't it? And from an economic standpoint, the savings must be immense.
Absolutely immense.
Reduced veterinary costs, fewer expensive drugs and chemicals, significantly less labor tied up in mustering and treating animals. It all sounds like a very clear formula for dramatically improved profit margins for the producer.
Precisely. It's a core component of the Solera model's financial viability and its nature-positive credentials. Fewer chemicals used means a healthier environment, too.
True. And speaking of maximizing profit and genetic potential, the Tuli also offers something called maximum hybrid vigor when used in crossbreeding programs. That sounds like a powerful tool.
It is a very powerful tool in the breeder's toolbox. Maximum hybrid vigor or heterosis.
What exactly does that mean, and why do Tulis offer the maximum level?
Hybrid vigor is the phenomenon where crossbred offspring exhibit traits like growth rate or fertility that are superior to the average of their two parent breeds. You get a boost, basically. Tulis offer the maximum potential hybrid vigor when crossed with breeds from different genetic subgroups, particularly Bos taurus breeds like Angus or Hereford, or even Bos indicus breeds like Brahman, because the Sangha group, including Tuli, is genetically quite distinct from both. They've been geographically and genetically isolated for a very long time.
So the greater the genetic distance between the parent breeds, the bigger the potential boost in the offspring.
Generally speaking, yes, that's the principle. And because Tulis represent this unique Sangha lineage, crossing them with the more common European or Zebu breeds unlocks that maximum genetic potential difference, leading to exceptionally strong hybrid vigor.
Okay, so what does this maximum hybrid vigor translate into, practically speaking? What are the specific desirable traits that get boosted in Tuli crossbreds?
It translates into a really powerful and desirable suite of traits in the crossbred progeny. You often see consistently high fertility carrying through, that inherent hardiness and adaptability to tough conditions, robust disease resistance, excellent beef qualities coming through strongly, even on grass.
The list goes on.
It does. Early maturity combined with fast finishing potential, a generally docile temperament making them easy to handle, the practical advantage of being primarily naturally polled, meaning no horns, continued ease of calving, which is critical, strong mothering ability in the crossbred females, and superb carcass quality, hitting those high grades and yields we talked about.
That's an incredibly comprehensive list. High fertility, hardy, adaptable, disease-resistant, great beef, early maturing, docile, polled, easy calving, good mothers, great carcasses.
It's quite the package. And these combined traits are exactly why the Tuli has become incredibly popular globally for crossbreeding programs. They reliably contribute so many positive, economically important attributes to the resulting crossbred animals.
It makes sense. Are there any particularly standout examples of premium crossbreeding results that really highlight this hybrid vigor in action? I think I heard you mention a Waguli earlier.
Ah, yes, the Waguli. That's a fascinating and increasingly popular cross, combining the genetics of Japanese Wagyu, famous for extreme marbling.
The Kobe beef breed.
Exactly, crossing Wagyu with Tuli. And the resulting Waguli beef is described by those producing it as being very, very consistent in tenderness and obviously is heavily marbled.
So you get the Tuli's hardiness and efficiency with the Wagyu's marbling.
That's the goal, and the results seem to bear it out. Recent slaughter data reported for Waguli cattle showed about 75% of them grading prime, the highest USDA grade, and the remaining 25% all grading high choice, the upper end of the next grade down.
75% prime, 100% high choice or better.
Yes. Exceptionally high-quality beef, consistently delivering top-tier results. And this really does raise an important question, doesn't it? It challenges how we've traditionally approached beef genetics, particularly regarding what's needed to achieve elite marbling and tenderness.
It suggests you don't necessarily need purebred Wagyu or maybe even intensive grain feeding to get near those top grades if you cross wisely.
Exactly. It shows that blending these ancient, resilient African Sangha genetics with modern, specialized premium beef lines like Wagyu can yield unexpected and potentially superior outcomes, combining the best of both worlds' resilience and quality. It opens up new possibilities.
Very exciting possibilities. And this success isn't just a recent thing, is it? You mentioned Tuli cattle have a documented history of success stretching way back. There was a groundbreaking program in the 1940s.
They absolutely do have a proven track record. Len Harvey's pioneering work back in the 1940s and 50s, in what was then Southern Rhodesia, was instrumental in demonstrating the Tuli's inherent capabilities long before the genetics reached places like the U.S. or Australia.
What did Len Harvey do?
He established the official Tuli breeding station, starting relatively small, but eventually expanding it to an impressive 20,000 acres, dedicated purely to selecting and improving the indigenous Tuli cattle he found. By 1948, his improved Tuli cattle were competing at major agricultural shows and carcass competitions throughout the region.
And how did they fare against the established breeds?
This is the truly remarkable part. They consistently won. Year after year, Harvey's Tulis were winning carcass competitions, beating out imported European contenders breeds like Hereford, Shorthorn, Aberdeen Angus, which had literally centuries of formal breeding management and intensive selection behind them in their home countries.
So the indigenous, locally adapted Tuli, refined through Harvey's selection, was outperforming breeds considered the global standard at the time.
Consistently, this historical success definitively demonstrated the Tuli's inherent superiority in that environment and its powerful genetic potential, even when pitted against long-established, highly regarded European cattle breeds. It proved their worth based on performance, not just pedigree.
That's an incredible story, a real testament to the power of natural adaptation combined with astute selection. And how are these cattle, or their genetics, relevant in contemporary applications today? Are they still carrying that legacy forward?
Absolutely. Today, their robust and adaptable genetics are prominently featured in the development of various composite breeds, like the Star Composite cattle in South Africa, for instance. These composites are specifically designed to be highly adaptable to challenging subtropical and drought-prone environments.
And do they exhibit those classic Tuli traits?
They do. These star cattle, drawing heavily on Tuli genetics, demonstrate that legacy by maintaining excellent hormonal balance, staying fertile, and holding good body condition relying only on grass or natural forage. They prove the Tuli's incredible efficiency translates into modern systems. They also consistently demonstrate high fertility rates and successfully raise good, healthy calves year after year, even in tough, low-input conditions. It's a direct continuation of that natural efficiency and resilience being applied effectively in modern, sustainable beef production systems around the world.
Fantastic. So we've thoroughly unpacked the incredible, almost counterintuitive attributes of both Mashona and Tuli. You have a fertility, efficiency, meat quality, resilience. Now let's bring all of this together. Let's really articulate how the Solaire framework, by strategically using these specific breeds, truly optimizes profitability while staying in harmony with nature. What is the clear, quantifiable economic case for a progressive producer to actually adopt these Sangha genetics?
Okay, the economic case. It isn't just robust, it's definitively quantifiable and potentially transformative for a producer's bottom line. Let's break it down.
Please do.
Firstly, that fertility advantage, we detailed those remarkable 21% to 75% higher weaning rates per cow exposed, depending on the comparison. That translates directly and powerfully into a significant increase in gross revenue. Simple as that.
More calves hitting the ground, surviving, and reaching sale weight means more product to sell more consistently year after year.
Exactly. Fewer empty cows, fewer calf losses, a much more reliable income stream, especially in variable climates. That's point one, increased output.
Okay, what's next?
Point two is premium market access, driven by their unique meat quality.
Right, the marbling, tenderness, ribeye ratio.
Precisely. That superior meat quality allows producers using these genetics, especially if they direct market or participate in specific quality-focused programs, to access high-value niche markets and command direct marketing premiums.
So they're not just selling more beef, they're potentially selling higher value beef.
Correct. They aren't just stuck selling commodity beef into the standard market. They have the potential to market a premium, differentiated product, maybe grass-fed, locally adapted, high quality that commands a higher price per pound. This significantly enhances overall revenue potential beyond just volume increases.
Increased output and increased value per unit. powerful combo.
But what about the cost side? The input costs must be where these breeds really make a difference compared to conventional systems.
Absolutely monumental difference on the cost side. This is point 3, and it's huge. We're talking truly significant cost reductions right across the board for the producer.
Like what specifically? Lower veterinary costs, drastically lower in many cases because of their inherent natural resistance to common parasites and diseases. Far less money spent on dewormers, tick treatments, antibiotics.
Okay, big saving there.
Dramatically reduce feed costs. Because of their exceptional efficiency on lower quality forage and their tolerance for nutritional stress, the need for expensive supplemental feed, hay, grain, protein tubs is significantly minimized, sometimes eliminated outside of extreme emergencies.
Another huge saving, especially with feed prices.
And often lower labor requirements for general management and interventions. These animals tend to be more self-sufficient, require less assistance at calving, and need fewer treatments, freeing up the producer's time and reducing labor costs.
Vet, feed, labor, the big 3 costs in most cattle operations.
Exactly, all potentially reduced. These factors combine to dramatically improve the operation's profit margins. It fundamentally shifts the economic equation in the producer's favor.
So just to recap, they're potentially more productive, more calves, they produce a higher value product, better quality, premium price, and they cost substantially less to raise lower inputs. That really does sound like the ultimate trifecta for profitability and, dare I say, sustainability.
It is a very compelling combination. And there's one more economic benefit we shouldn't forget.
Go on.
Their climate resilience, that heat and drought tolerance we discussed.
Yeah.
In an increasingly unpredictable world, that acts as essential climate insurance, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Explain how that translates economically.
It provides essential production stability. It insulates producers from some of the most challenging and unpredictable environmental variables, drought, extreme heat that can absolutely devastate conventional herds and wipe out profits for years.
So it reduces the downside risk.
Massively. This resilience means more consistent production, more reliable cash flow, even when neighbors with less adapted breeds might be struggling, destocking, or facing huge feed bills. It's an invaluable competitive advantage and a crucial de-risking strategy for the long-term viability of the business.
Okay, so if we bring all these powerful points together, higher output, premium value, lower costs, reduced risk, what's the ultimate potential impact on a producer's overall bottom line? Can we actually put a figure, even a range, on the potential improvement in enterprise profitability from adopting these genetics within the Solera framework?
Based on the research, the crossbreeding trial results, and the experiences of producers already using these genetics within this nature-positive framework, the figures are indeed compelling. The source material suggests that this approach can improve overall enterprise profitability by a remarkable 25% to 100%.
25 to 100% improvement in profitability. That's an astonishing range.
It is. Of course, the exact figure depends on the starting point, the specific environment, the management skills, and the markets accessed. But the potential for that level of improvement is clearly there, driven by that powerful combination of reduced costs, significantly increased productivity, and access to premium product markets. It presents a very strong economic argument that happens to align perfectly with ecological responsibility.
An incredibly strong argument. But as we've emphasized right from the beginning, this Solera approach isn't just about the money, is it? It's fundamentally about being nature positive. So how do these Sangha breeds specifically drive those positive environmental outcomes? How do they actively contribute to ecological health?
It's truly a holistic approach where the animal's traits directly benefit the wider environment. The most obvious way is by enabling reduced chemical inputs.
Fewer pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, drugs.
Exactly. By requiring minimal chemical interventions, whether that's for parasite control on the animal, antibiotics, or potentially even reduced fertilizer use on pastures because they utilize lower quality forage efficiently, these breeds dramatically lessen the chemical load on the environment. Less chemical runoff means healthier soil biology, cleaner water in streams and rivers, and a better chance for beneficial insects and wider biodiversity to thrive.
So a lighter footprint just by being naturally resistant and efficient.
A significantly lighter footprint.
And what about land use? You mentioned they produce more meat per hectare.
Mm-hmm.
Does that translate into more efficient land use and maybe less pressure on natural ecosystems?
Precisely. Higher productivity per hectare is a key environmental benefit. It means, theoretically, that less land is needed to produce the same amount of high-quality, nutritious beef compared to less efficient breeds.
Which could free up land for other uses.
It could reduce the pressure to convert natural habitats like forests or wetlands into grazing land. It supports biodiversity by allowing natural ecosystems more space. And on the land they do graze, their adaptation allows for potentially more sustainable grazing management practices that can improve soil health and pasture diversity, rather than degrading it.
And their climate resilience plays a role here too, environmentally.
Definitely. Their inherent ability to cope with heat and drought ensures production continuity even as climate patterns change. This makes beef production in vulnerable regions more robust and sustainable long term. They are already adapted rather than needing energy-intensive interventions like housing or excessive feeding to cope. It builds resilience into the food system itself.
So they're climate adapted and inherently more eco-friendly by their very nature. And by choosing to utilize these ancient African genetics, are we also contributing to something even broader, perhaps on a global scale?
We absolutely are. Utilizing and actively promoting these unique ancient African Sangha genetics makes a significant contribution to maintaining global livestock genetic diversity.
Why is genetic diversity in livestock so important?
It's critically important for future food security. Genetic diversity provides the raw material, the essential toolbox of resilience, for adapting to future challenges we can't even predict yet, perhaps new diseases, even more extreme climate shifts, or changing consumer demands for different product attributes. Relying on only a few highly specialized breeds globally makes our food system very vulnerable. Promoting breeds like Mashona and Tuli helps keep that vital genetic toolbox broad and robust.
So it's about safeguarding options for the future.
Exactly. And just to summarize how they fit Solera's nature-positive goals, these breeds consistently maintain productivity on lower quality forages, they require minimal external inputs, chemicals, feed, they produce premium products highly suitable for direct, value-added marketing, and they provide invaluable genetic resilience for long-term sustainability and adaptation. That, right there, is the very essence of the Solera framework in action. It's a tangible blueprint for truly regenerative agriculture.
Okay, so this all culminates beautifully in that truly fascinating idea you mentioned earlier, the nexus, where good for nature is good for beef and therefore better for you. Can you really break down that profound connection for us, especially from the perspective of the person at the end of the chain, the consumer? What does it actually mean for them when they choose beef from this kind of system?
It's an incredibly positive and, I think, unbroken virtuous chain of value. It starts with the land. When you have farming practices focused on soil health, biodiversity, clean water that's fundamentally good for nature,
Healthy ecosystems.
then you place healthy, incredibly well-adapted animals like Mashona or Tuli into that thriving environment. They graze diverse pastures, live low-stress lives, operate within their natural physiological design.
Also good for nature and good animal welfare.
Exactly. And those healthy, well-adapted animals, nourished by diverse forage, in turn naturally produce high-quality, inherently nutritious beef. That's clearly good for beef, better flavor, potentially better nutrient profile.
Makes sense. Nature provides the quality inputs.
And finally, for you, the conscious consumer making a choice in the supermarket or butcher shop, this translates directly. You get beef that is not only consistently excellent in flavor, tenderness, and marbling, even as a purely grass-fed product, which is remarkable, but it also comes with the assurance that it originates from a production system that actively minimizes environmental harm, genuinely promotes animal welfare, and potentially even contributes to the regeneration of natural ecosystems.
So it's about the quality of the product and the quality of the process behind it.
Precisely. It means you're not just eating well, enjoying a delicious and nutritious meal, you're also making a positive, ethical, and environmental impact with your purchasing decision. You're supporting a system that heals rather than harms.
So it's about completing that circle, isn't it? Sustainable land management leads to resilient, healthy animals, which lead to high-quality, nutritious beef, which in turn becomes a demonstrably better, more responsible choice for consumers and for the planet. That's where all these different pieces truly lock together.
It absolutely is. It's about consumers having the opportunity to consciously choose and support a food system that actively regenerates and restores our natural resources rather than one that depletes them. That's a powerful choice to have.
It certainly is. And as you mentioned earlier, none of this incredible progress, this shift towards a more regenerative model, would likely be happening at scale without visionary leadership and a profound collaborative spirit behind it. Let's shine a well-deserved spotlight back on Jack Milbank, the founder of Solera. He truly sounds like someone who saw the need for change early on.
He most certainly did. Jack Milbank clearly possessed the foresight, the vision to recognize the immense, largely untapped potential lying dormant in these ancient Sangha breeds. And critically, he understood the urgent need for a fundamental paradigm shift in mainstream beef production, a shift away from input-heavy industrial models towards one that reconciles profitability with genuine ecological stewardship.
He saw the writing on the wall, perhaps.
Perhaps. His visionary leadership, his unwavering dedication to this cause, and his relentless drive are absolutely central to pushing this nature-positive philosophy forward, not just locally, but potentially on a global scale. He's not just a founder. He's clearly the passionate driving force, diligently working to bring together this vibrant community of like-minded producers who share that vision.
And that highlights the power of collaboration, doesn't it? You stressed earlier, it's not just the efforts of one person or one pioneering farm. It's this increasing cohort, this growing network of cooperator breeders who are actively subscribing to and implementing this nature-positive production philosophy. It really sounds like a true movement-building momentum.
That's profoundly accurate. It genuinely is a growing movement, a powerful network built on shared purpose and mutual support. The shared learning, the open exchange of genetics between breeders, the collective problem-solving and effort amongst these cooperators, it all creates an incredibly robust and dynamic Solera framework that's constantly evolving and improving.
So the network itself helps strengthen the model.
Absolutely. This collaboration fosters innovation much faster than individuals working alone. It helps disseminate best practices rapidly across different environments. And crucially, it de-risks the journey for individual producers who are making the transition because they have a support network to learn from and share experiences with.
That makes a huge difference.
Imagine a cooperator in, say, a drought-prone area in Australia benefiting directly from insights or even adapted genetics shared by another cooperator maybe in the humid southern U.S. They can adapt their strategies based on collective wisdom, not just trial and error. This network approach transforms individual challenges into shared learning opportunities, accelerating progress for everyone involved, right from the soil health up to the quality of the beef reaching the consumer.
That's incredibly powerful. And the ultimate proof, as the old saying goes, is in the pudding, or in this case perhaps, the profitability and the environmental outcomes. This isn't just theory or wishful thinking. The Solera framework, meticulously applied through the strategic use of Tuli and Mashona genetics and supercharged by this collaborative spirit, is consistently delivering results on a commercial scale.
Absolutely. That's a critical point.
This is tangible, profitable, and sustainable beef production being realized today, right now.
Exactly. It's not a concept waiting to be proven. It's a working, proven model that delivers. It's tangible in terms of healthy animals and landscapes. It's profitable on the balance sheet. And most importantly, it's actively building a more resilient and sustainable future for beef production. It serves as a practical blueprint for agricultural operations everywhere that truly value both the health of their ledger and the health of their land.
Well, what an incredibly insightful and, frankly, inspiring journey we've taken today. We've plunged deep into the remarkable resilience, the surprising efficiency, and the profound economic and ecological benefits of Mashona and Tuli cattle. And we've seen how, through the innovative Solera framework, they're genuinely helping to unlock a brand new era of nature-positive beef production.
It seems unequivocally clear from the evidence, doesn't it? This approach profoundly demonstrates that optimizing profitability for the producer and actively nurturing the health of our shared planet can, and indeed must, go hand in hand. It's a remarkable, mutually beneficial synergy, not a trade-off.
It really is. And that leaves us, and hopefully you listening, with a truly compelling thought to mull over, doesn't it? Yeah. If we, as a global community, wholeheartedly embrace the inherent wisdom and the incredible time-tested resilience of breeds like these ancient African Sangha cattle, could we truly transform global beef production as we currently know it? Could we move decisively beyond the limitations and often the negative consequences of conventional high-input systems? Could we perhaps cultivate a future where our food systems don't just feed us, but actively work to restore and regenerate our precious natural world? It's the big question, but
yeah.
What's your take on the future of food?
It is indeed a powerful and essential question for our times. One that certainly demands our sustained thought and attention as we consider the long-term viability, the sustainability, and the ethical responsibilities inherent in our agricultural systems for all the generations yet to come.
Absolutely. So if your curiosity has been well and truly piqued by today's deep dive, as ours certainly has, we wholeheartedly encourage you to seek out more information on the Solera framework and these truly remarkable Mashona and Tuli cattle breeds. There's clearly a lot more to learn. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive.